What time do we start? Yesterday? 9:30 to 12.
Fuck, man. No, no, nigga came back down. I thought I'd let you know that I was gone, but I never lived. Come back now. I thought I'd let you know. This brotherhood is a whip, and I never let it go. Never let it free. Shit, I kill for my niggas. I thought I'd let you know. No, no, nigga came back down. I thought I'd let you know that I was gone, but I never lived. Come back now. I thought I'd let you know. This brotherhood is a whip, and I never let it go. Never let it free. Shit, I kill for my niggas. I thought I'd let you know. Yeah, you nigga know I'm about to bring the heat, right? Shit, I used to live in the street like, hey, man, I still keep the heat tight. That nigga all gold like a green light. They say 144, nigga, you can get it. Ain't gotta tell me twice. Tryna stack a couple grand, get on some land, and put us on a feed in the field with the warriors. And you know a nigga garbage, but we still keep the G on. Keep them tools on depot. Might hit him with the Rico. Hey, hit the nigga with the Rico. Hey, said they fucked up the rat game. What you looking at me for? So I know they can't stand it. That's why I keep a Glock handy. Mike sipping Lil Brandy. While I'm chilling with the family. Tell them a real nigga landed. Dressing all black like a bandit. Bitch, I ain't gonna play. Bitch, I can't do that. No Calvin nigga came back down. I thought I'd let you know that I was gone, but I never lived. Come back now. I thought I'd let you know. This brotherhood is a whip, and I never let it go. Never let it free. Shit, I kill for my niggas. I thought I'd let you know. No Calvin nigga came back down. I thought I'd let you know that I was gone, but I never lived. Come back now. I thought I'd let you know. This brotherhood is a whip, and I never let it go. Never let it free. Shit, I kill for my niggas. I thought I'd let you know. Back to we fall. Ain't Babylon fall. You know the pepper nigga walk. Nigga raised up, now I'm all in. And all I ever wanted with the wind and the big body bend. Now I'm gone in the wind, trying to stack a couple in. Now let's get it in, yeah, let's get it in. I'm about to make the shit tremble. 144, the rail, yeah. About to turn it up a level. Hit the bitch up like lava. And it probably bring a whole out. And know that we feel out far. And I'm headed for the top down. And ain't never gonna stop me. Never gonna stop. No nigga came back down. I thought I'd let you know that I was gone, but I never lived. Come back now. I thought I'd let you know. This brotherhood is a whip, and I never let it go. Never let it free. Shit, I kill for my niggas. I thought I'd let you know. No Calvin nigga came back down. I thought I'd let you know that I was gone, but I never lived. Come back now. I thought I'd let you know. This brotherhood is a whip, and I never let it go. Never let it free. Shit, I kill for my niggas. I thought I'd let you know.
Shalom. Shalom, Israel, with the Israelite School of Universal and Practical Knowledge. Started out of 1 West 125th Street, Harlem, New York, under the commanding General YAHANNA. Today, we want to get into Peter and Paul. We've been having a lot of questions about why was Peter being the head of the church? Why did Paul have so many letters to the church and all of that kind of stuff? So we want to give you the context of what's really going on to help people understand, first and foremost, that if you're not learning from the priests and prophets of the Lord, you will never understand why this is going on the way it is. Because the Lord didn't give these other preachers and teachers and deacons and bishops the wisdom of the Lord to understand these things.
Right.
So we're finna go into it. First thing you got to know that from beginning to the end of the Bible, that it is talking about salvation for the Israelites.
Right.
That is what the entire Bible is talking about. The Bible is called the Holy Bible for one particular reason. Holy means to be separate, set apart. So this is a separate book. This book has nothing to do with anybody else. It ain't talking about an agreement with nobody else. It ain't talking about anybody else coming in and being God's people as well. This is a selective book for a selective people called the Lord's chosen people. That are you blacks, Hispanics, and Native American Indians. That is it. So anytime you read something in the Bible that sounds like it's for everybody, that's just your Christianity getting in the way of the context of the Bible.
That's right.
When you see all people, that doesn't mean the Africans and the Arabs and the white man coming in and going into the kingdom of heaven.
Right.
That's not what it means. And we're going to prove that to you through the scriptures. Understand? We're going to show you who the covenant has been for and who it is still for. Christians always say that God never changed. They say that all the time. So when did he change and start loving everybody?
Right.
They love to say when Jesus died, it came for all people. No, it's not true. We're going to show you that in the Bible. So first we're going to show you when the covenant was started and when it was, how it became what it is now. Let me get Genesis 17. We're going to start at verse 1. The thing about the Christians and the reason they don't understand this is because they don't read the Old Testament.
Right.
You starting in the New Testament trying to understand the entire Bible, you are not going to understand the entire Bible. Right. Because another thing that's missing from Christian dogma is the Apocrypha.
Right.
You can't understand the whole story if you don't have the whole story. You understand? We're going to start at Genesis chapter 17, verse 1.
This is the book of Genesis, chapter 17, verse 1. And when Abraham was 99 years old, the Lord appeared to Abram and said to him, I am the Almighty God. Walk before me and be perfect, and I will make my covenant between me and you.
Now, in this first part of the covenant, the Lord told Abraham to walk before him and be perfect. From the beginning of the covenant was for us to be perfect.
Right.
It was never for us to be under grace. It was never for us to be mediocre. From the jump, it was always for us to be perfect. Read.
Right. Verse 2. And I will make my covenant between me and you, and will multiply you exceedingly. And verse 3. And Abram fell on his face, and God talked with him, saying, As for me, behold, my covenant is with you, and you shall be a father of many nations.
You hear this? This is how it started right here. The Lord is telling Abram that his covenant is with him. That's it. And he's going to be a father of many nations. Abraham was the father of many nations because out of his loins came all the other nations. Esau came out of his loins. The Arabs came out of his loins. I would say the East Indians came out of his loins. The blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans came out of his loins. Let me see. Well, no, not Lot, not the Chinese and the Japanese, because that was his kinfolk. Right. So many nations did come out of the loins of Abraham. Read.
Verse 5. Neither shall your name anymore be called Abram, but your name shall be Abraham. For a father of many nations have I made you.
Now that shows you why we still get name changes today. When you make a covenant with the Lord and when you come into doing what the Lord wants you to do, then who you used to be, you are no longer that person.
That's right.
He lived his life all the way up until the moment he made this covenant with the Lord as Abram. And the Lord said, no longer will you be Abram, you will be Abraham. That is what we do still to this day. When you do your 90 days in the UPK, before you take that oath, we let it be known you are taking an oath with the Lord. You are making a covenant with him. This is a very serious thing. Don't take this lightly because the Lord is serious about his covenants because his covenants are forever. His oaths are forever. He ain't going to say, oh, well, it wasn't for him. So, I ain't tripping. Just let him go about to the world. No, you are his. Keep reading.
Verse 6. And I will make you exceedingly fruitful, and I will make nations of you, and kings shall come out of you.
Okay. Keep reading.
Verse 7. And I will establish my covenant between me.
Between who?
Between me and you, and your seed after you in their generations
for an everlasting covenant.
For how long?
An everlasting covenant. To be a God to you and to your seed after you.
That's the covenant right there. The covenant that we have, the old covenant, is for the same people that broke. I mean, the new covenant is for the same people that broke the old covenant. Because the covenant that was given to us is everlasting. It's forever. It never ends. You understand? So the Christians think that since we broke the covenant was over, we never got a chance again. Well, you know where your chance appeared at? In the New Testament with Christ. Christ was your second chance to bring you back into the covenant. Not to bring new people into the covenant, but to bring you back into the covenant. Now let me get the 2 sticks. I'm good on that to walk. Give me Ezekiel chapter 37, and we're going to start at verse 15.
Okay, it's the book of Ezekiel, chapter 37, verse 15. The word of the Lord came again unto me, saying, verse 16, moreover, thou son of man, take thee one stick and write upon it for Judah and for the children of Israel, his companions. Then take another stick and write upon it for Joseph, the stick of Ephraim, and for all the house of Israel, his companions.
Now, so this is what's being told to Ezekiel. This is a foretelling of what's going to happen in the New Testament. What was going to happen when Christ returned, when Christ appeared, Salakia. So this is a stick, and this is another stick. He said, on this stick, you're going to write Judah for his companions. Who would Judah's companions be? What's their name?
The Levites.
Go ahead.
The Levites and
Benjamites. So Judah, Benjamin, and Levi, right? Judah on this stick for them, right? Then on this other stick, you're going to write for Ephraim and his companions. Who would Ephraim and his companions be?
The northern kingdom.
The northern kingdom. Naphtali, Reuben, Gad, Asher, Manasseh, Ephraim, Issachar, Simeon, all the rest of the 10 tribes, which is called Israel. All right? That's what people don't understand. This simple stuff right here. And then when you get this, then you'll be able to understand the Bible. Okay, keep reading.
Verse 17. And join them one to another.
Do what?
Join them one to another.
So now you're going to take Judah, Benjamin, and Levi and join them together with the northern kingdom. So you're going to take the blacks and put them with the Hispanics and the Native Americans. And do what?
Join them one to another unto one stick.
Until one stick now. Read.
And they shall become one in thine hand.
That is the new covenant.
right.
Being one again. Because we were scattered abroad. We were all separate. We were all in different lands, serving different gods, worshiping other gods, following the ways of the heathens. So the prophecy was to bring the nation back together. Because when we were separate in let's get that. 1 Kings. What's that? 1 Kings 11. Yeah.
I'm already there.
You already there? Read that for me.
It's the book of 1 Kings, chapter 11, verse 9. The Lord was angry with Solomon because his heart was turned from the Lord God of Israel, which had appeared unto him twice.
Read.
Verse 10. And had commanded him concerning these things, this thing, that he should not go after other gods.
Read.
But he kept not that which the Lord commanded. Verse 11. Therefore the Lord said unto Solomon, for as much as this is done of thee, and thou hast not kept my covenant and my statutes, which I have commanded thee, I will surely rend the kingdom from thee.
This is why the kingdom had to be put back together, because it was taken from us when Solomon made the mistake that he made. That lets you know that you don't just have a personal relationship with God. Because it didn't say that the nation of Israel has sinned against God. It said the king of Israel sinned against
That's
God.
right.
Solomon sinned against the Most High, and they put all of us into jeopardy.
Right.
So all of that, well, I got my own relationship with God. It's just me. It's about all of us.
That's right.
It's about us as a family. You understand? Because that is how the Lord views us. The white man has to pay for the crimes of his forefather because it's about his family. We had to pay for the crimes of our ancestors because it's about our family. It ain't about individuals. It's about us as a whole, as a nation. Christianity has taught us to just think about ourselves and be individualites.
Right.
You understand? And that's why we're in the condition that we're in, and that's why we're so selfish, and that's why we got people like Floyd Mayweather that's saying, I don't care what's going on with them. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna spend my money how I want to spend it.
Right.
When the rest of the nation is saying, the hell with these people.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
That's the problem. We gotta start being brotherly and sisterly. Go ahead.
If I may, and that's the same case with our sisters getting beat upside their head in these nail shops and in these beauty supply shops.
Right.
And I mean, the heathens look upon us and say these people have no self-respect.
Right.
Because every other Negro around the country still hitting up these shops. Mm-hmm. And then even when we try to boycott them, and they just drop the prices to the prices how much the stuff actually costs. Mm-hmm. Negroes then drop their protest sign and line up in line to get into to buy everything up out of the store.
Exactly. That's exactly why they do it, because they are sellouts. Because like Steve Harvey said, this is the money game, and you can't feed your family with integrity.
Good night.
That type of mindset is why we're destroyed.
Right.
Because we lost what separated us, and that was our integrity.
Right.
You understand? Everybody else was able to sell out. We wouldn't sell out.
That's right.
You put pork in our face, we would die before we ate pork because we had integrity. That's what made us such a peculiar people to everybody else. Our laws and how firm we stood on those laws.
Right.
Now that we don't have nothing to stand on, we fold for anything.
Right.
You understand? So go ahead.
If I may, when the Spanish came over to America, that's why they were so intrigued at the Native Americans, because they tried to offer them pork and they wouldn't eat it.
Right.
And when the Spanish would go hungry, they would eat certain birds and they would, offer it to the Native Americans. The Native Americans would turn it down and call them an accursed people.
Right. That's exactly right. When you don't do what the white man do, you accursed people.
Right.
You understand? Give me Deuteronomy 4:27.
It's the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 4, verse 27. And the Lord shall scatter ye, and the Lord shall scatter you among the nations, and ye shall be left few in number among the heathen, where the Lord shall lead thee.
So this is why in Ezekiel he said he's going to gather he's going to put us all into one stick, because we are scattered amongst the nations. Right. Now let's go to the New Testament. Let's go to the book of Acts. Let's talk about Peter and Paul. Since we got some groundwork on what we're talking about now, we got some context. Now let's talk about them. Salvation has always been for the nation of Israel. Give me Acts chapter 7. Let's start at verse 5. Acts 7. Start at verse 5.
Acts chapter 7.
Acts chapter 7.
Read loud.
Verse 5. And he gave him.
Yeah, take that off your head. Go ahead.
And he gave him none inheritance in it, no, not so much as to set his foot on, yet he promised that he would give it to him for a possession
and to his seed after him, when as yet he had no child.
Okay, so this is Stephen. This is Stephen giving his account of the history of the Israelites. He's running down the history. So now at this time, he's talking about Abraham, how the Lord made a covenant with him before he even had any children. Keep reading.
Verse 6. And God spake on this wise, that his seed should sojourn in a strange land.
You hear that? That has been since the beginning. That if we were to break our covenant, then the Lord was going to scatter us amongst the other nations, the heathens in strange lands. Our homeland is Jerusalem. We over here way in North America. We got our brothers in Jamaica and Haiti. We got brothers in the UK. We got brothers in China. We got brothers in strange foreign lands all over the earth. Keep reading.
And that they should bring them into bondage
Mm-hmm.
and entreat them evil 400 years.
Keep reading.
And the nation to whom they shall be in bondage will I judge.
Do you hear that? Since the beginning, it has always been understood that whatever nations had us in slavery, the Lord is going to judge them for it. Why is it that when we say this, Christians get mad at us like we are speaking hate? This has been since the beginning. This is the covenant that the Lord gave Jacob after he blessed Esau. After he blessed Esau, he told, give me that, Genesis 27 and 29. Finish reading what you got.
And will I judge, said God, and after that shall they come forth and serve me in this place.
You hear that? After that, after he brings them out of captivity, makes them one again, bring them out of their strange lands, and put the people that have held them down in captivity, then we're going to go into our land and serve the Most High. That's been the covenant. That's been what it's supposed to be. So when did it change? It changed during Christianity. It changed during the time of the what's that called? The persecution. You know what I'm saying? When they was riding around making you either a Christian or a Muslim. You understand? Go ahead.
Oh yeah, that's crusade.
The crusade, that's what I meant. The water. I appreciate that. You understand? So now read what you got in Genesis for me. I want y'all, you got that for me? Come on.
Genesis chapter 27, verse 29. Let people serve thee.
This has been the blessing since Jacob got his blessing. This is what the Lord said. Let people serve thee and what?
And nations bow down to thee.
Nations, all nations are going to bow down to the children of Israel.
Right.
People look at boot kisses like, well, where is this coming from? Why are y'all doing this? This is so evil. Y'all making these people do that. But this is the blessing the Lord gave us. That nations is going to bow down to us and be what?
Be Lord over thy brethren.
And we're going to be Lord over our brethren, over the white man.
Right.
Read.
And let thy mother's son bow down to thee.
You wonder why the white man bows down to us and kiss our boots at camp? Because it's been prophecy since Isaac gave his blessing to Jacob. Keep reading.
Curse thee everyone that curseth thee.
Everybody that hates you, the Lord has a cursing coming to them. Read.
And bless thee he that blesseth thee.
And everybody that helps us, they're going to be blessed. That's why it says, if you help a prophet, you're going to receive a prophet's reward. I'm paraphrasing.
Right.
So that's what that's talking about. That has never changed. It has always been the same. Now let's go back to Acts and let's go to Acts 11. No, Acts 10. Let's talk about Cornelius. Now this is Peter. Acts chapter 10, Salakia. We're going to start at verse 1.
It's the book of Acts, chapter 10, verse 1. There was a certain man in Caesarea named Cornelius,
Right.
a centurion of the band called the Italian band. Verse 2, a devout man and one that feared God with all his house. Which gave much alms to the people and prayed to God
always.
Stop right there. Read that part again. This is skipped. This part right here, when a Christian tells you that Cornelius was not an Israelite, this verse right here cuts them. Read that verse again.
This is the book of Acts, chapter 10, verse 2. A devout man and one that feared God with all his house, which gave much alms to the people and prayed to God always.
Now, it said that he was a devout man first, and he feared the Lord. What does that mean? He followed the laws, right? Then it said he prayed and gave alms. Give me Baruch 3 and 4. Baruch chapter 3, verse 4. Read what you got.
The book of Baruch, chapter 3, verse 4. O Lord Almighty, thy God of Israel.
God of who?
God of Israel.
Read.
Hear now the prayers of the dead Israelites.
Hear the prayer of who?
Of the dead Israelites.
Read.
And of their children.
And of who?
And of their children.
What you just read in Acts, read that again.
A devout man, one that feared God with all his house, which gave much alms to the people and prayed to God always.
You see that? The Lord heard his prayers and saw his gifts. And what is saying, Baruch? Hear now what?
Hear now the prayers of the dead Israelites.
Read.
And of their children.
And of their who?
And of their children.
Read.
Which have sinned before thee. And not hearken unto the voice of thee, their God. For the which caused these plagues cleave unto us.
Bam. That is how we know that Cornelius was an Israelite, because the Lord doesn't hear prayers of any other nation but the Israelites. Right. It didn't say, hear now the prayers of all the nations of the earth. It didn't say, hear now the prayers of the white man. It says, hear the prayers of the dead Israelites and their children. So if these prayers were being heard, then how were they being heard? Because he was a child of the Most High. Read what you got, YAHANNA.
It's the book. It's the book of Acts, chapter 2, verse 5. And there dwelling at Jerusalem, Jews, devout men out of every nation under heaven.
You see that? Devout men were Jews. And they were out of where?
Out of every nation under heaven.
And they was out of every nation under heaven, because we just read that they were scattered abroad. Right. Now hold up, keep reading. Well, you got a precept? Oh, hold that. Because go back to Acts. Go back to Acts. Where you was at? Acts 10. You stopped at 2. Go down to 4.
It's the book of Acts, chapter 10, verse 4.
Read verse 3, until 4.
Verse 3. He saw in a vision, evidently about the 9th hour of the day, an angel of God coming to him and saying to him, Cornelius.
Now, what did this angel say? Read.
Verse 4. And when he looked on him, he was afraid and said, What is it, Lord? And he said unto him, Thy prayers and thine alms are come up for a memorial before God.
Do you hear what that say? It said that Cornelius's prayers and his alms had came up before the Most High. How did they do that if he was a heathen? Go ahead.
Like Officer YAHANNA scripture he just read about Jews, devout Jews of all nations. In Baruch chapter 3 and verse 10, it says, verse 9, hear Israel the commandments of life, give ear to understand wisdom. Verse 10, how happeneth it, Israel, that thou art in thy enemy's land, and that thou art waxing old in a strange country, that thou art defiled with the dead.
You see that? If you read, go back to verse 4, what we just said. Now it said that his prayers went up before the Most High because he was an Israelite. Because the Lord only hears the prayers of the dead Israelites and their children.
And so,
Go ahead.
and so, like, if I may, when did the angel of the Lord ever have a message for someone of any other nation?
You understand? That's well, he
did.
yeah, he did. He did. Salaki. Nice try, 50. But that's what it was. The Lord said that he listened to the prayers of the Israelites. So that's how we know that Cornelius was an Israelite. And that's how you know that when Peter had this vision, he was being told to go to the northern kingdom. See, they wasn't going to the northern kingdom because the northern kingdom was looked at as what? How was they looked at? Unclean.
They looked at Gentiles.
As Gentiles. And how do we look at as Gentiles? What do we look at Gentiles like? Heathens, dirty, nasty people. You a heathen. How did you become a heathen?
By not keeping the law, statutes, and judgments.
That's it. That's what our old people still say that today. If you a bad person, boy, you acting like a heathen.
Right.
You such a heathen.
Right.
Because that's our way, that's the way we talk. Peter had the vision, and the vision was about some animals coming down, unclean animals. And he was like, Lord, I ain't never ate nothing unclean. And he had this vision 3 times. And then these, what we would call Gentiles, come knocking at his door.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And then that's when he understood that, oh, you talking about these Mexicans.
Right.
Because he wouldn't have went and talked to no Mexicans.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? He would have looked at them like they were unclean. So let me get some Paul. Because Paul, let's see how Paul stepped on the scene. Let me get Acts 9 and verse 1 through 6 before we go into it. What you got?
I was going to read Christ put feet on the church.
Okay, yeah, go ahead and read that. Read that so we can get that understood first.
It's the book of Matthew, chapter 16, verse 18. And it reads, and I say also unto thee, that thou art Peter, and upon this rock I will build my church, and the gates of hell shall not prevail against it.
So before Christ left, he left Paul, Salaki. He left Peter over the church. So Peter is in charge. He got the vision that he should go to the. Let's just read that because y'all gonna need that Cornelius breakdown. Let me go back to Acts 10.
Go back to Acts 10.
Acts 10 and drop down to like what verse 34?
It's the book of Acts, chapter 10, verse 34. And Peter opened his mouth and
read verse 22 first.
It's the book of Acts, chapter 10, verse 22. And they said, Cornelius, the centurion, a just man, and one that feareth God, and of good report among all the nations of Jews.
And all the nations of who?
Of Jews.
All the nations of what?
Of the Jews.
Read.
Was warned from God by an holy angel to send for thee unto his house and to hear words of thee.
Just drop down to verse 34.
It's the book of Acts, chapter 10, verse 34. Then Peter opened his mouth and said, of a truth, I perceive that God is no respecter of persons.
Now, let's stop right there. What does it mean to be a respecter of persons? Go ahead,
basically, because of someone's status, you cater to them more than basically like a homeless person. Like, say if somebody, pulled up to school in a Benz versus somebody, that we met out at camp, that was homeless that we invited to class. We get the person in the Benz, the red carpet treatment, and then the dude, tell me, man, come up here, sit up front. and dude is homeless. Hey, I just go sit in the back somewhere.
Right. That's exactly what it is. And he said, I see that the Most High is not a respecter of person, because they looked at them like the scum of the earth.
Right.
And he was like, if he gonna let him come, then the Lord really must not be a respecter of a person.
Right.
Because these people are scums, uncircumcised bastards. That's how they looked at him. Go ahead.
Ain't seen him at a Passover.
Ain't right. They ain't seen him at no Passover. You understand? Keep reading.
We still at Acts 10?
Yeah, keep reading.
35?
Mm-hmm.
35. This is the book of Acts, chapter 10, verse 35. But in every nation, he that feareth him and worketh righteousness is accepted with him.
Oh, now we cut. Now it said in every nation. Why does it say in every nation? Give her a hand. Because we were scattered in every nation. That's where we were. So that's where we had to go and get our brothers and sisters from. All the nations that we were scattered in. Keep reading.
Verse 36. The word which God sent unto the children of Israel.
To the children of who?
Unto the children of Israel.
Read.
Preaching peace by Yahawashi HaMashiach.
Read.
He is Lord of all.
He's Lord over everybody. What does that mean?
He's the king of all his people.
He's the king.
Right.
Not just all his people. He's going to be the king over everybody. But people see that Lord of all and mean that they're going to get saved.
Right.
That's what they see. He is Lord of all. See? All.
Right.
Yeah, all. He's going to be king over the planet. Everybody on the earth.
Right.
But he is the king of Israel. That's not hard to understand.
That's right.
Go ahead. Read verse 40.
It's the book of Acts, chapter 10, verse 40. Him God raised up the third day and shewed him openly. Verse 41. Not to all the people, but unto the witnesses chosen before of God.
Keep reading.
Even to us who did eat and drink with him after he rose from the dead. Verse 42. Verse 42. And he commanded us to preach unto the people and to testify that it is he which was ordained of God to be the judge of quick and dead.
Now, he is telling them that the reason we are ordained to do this is because we seen Christ when he came back. And when he came back, we sat down and we ate with him, and he told us to go on the streets and teach what we teaching y'all. That's why we are here. People don't understand the reason that we on the streets is because we are ordained to teach this gospel.
That's right.
Because we're teaching the same thing the disciples taught.
That's
Your
right.
pastor's not teaching what the disciples taught. Your pastors are teaching the doctrine of men.
Right.
They are teaching the philosophy of man. They're not teaching what the Lord left. You understand? Now, that's Peter. Now let's go to Saul. Go to Acts 9. Start at verse 1.
This is the book of Acts, chapter 9, verse 1. And Saul, yet breathing out threatenings and slaughter against the disciples of the Lord, went unto the high priest and desired of him letters to Damascus, to the synagogues, that if he found any of this way, whether they were men or women, he might bring them bound unto Jerusalem. Verse 3, and as he journeyed, he came near Damascus, and suddenly there shined round about him light from heaven, and he fell to the earth and heard a voice saying, Saul, Saul, why persecutest thou me? And he said, what art thou, Lord? And the Lord said, I am Yahawashi, whom thou persecutest. It is hard for thee to kick against the pricks.
Right.
And he trembled and astonished, said, Lord, what wilt thou have me to do? And the Lord said unto him, arise, and go into the city, and it shall be told thee what thou must do.
Now, Saul was on his way to go and kill niggas in the truth.
Right.
That's what he was doing. He was like, look, give me the permission, give me the permits.
Right.
That's all I need. I need the paperwork.
Right.
When I get this paperwork, I'm killing men and women. That's what Saul was on. Now, when he on his way to Damascus to go get brothers and sisters out the truth, Christ met him on the road and blinded him. Matter of fact, read verse 9.
Verse 9. And he was 3 days without sight, and neither did eat nor drink.
Read.
Verse 10. And there was a certain disciple at Damascus named Ananias. And to him the Lord in a vision, Ananias. And he said, Behold, I am here, Lord. Verse 11. And the Lord said unto him, Arise, and go into the street, which is called Straight, and inquire in the house of Judas for one called Saul of Tarsus. For behold, he prayeth and hath seen in a vision a man named Ananias coming in, and putting his hand on him that he might receive his sight.
Now, the very man that Saul, one of the people that Saul was going to kill, is the man that had to save his life.
Right.
That's what was happening. One of the people that Saul was on his way to go and kill, that is who the Lord told to go and save this man and give him back his vision. Read it.
Verse 13. And Ananias answered, Lord, I have heard by many of this man how much evil he hath done to thy saints at Jerusalem. And here he hath authority from the chief priest to bind all that call on thy name. But the Lord said unto him, Go thy way, for he is chosen vessel unto me to bear my name before the Gentiles, the kings, and the children of Israel.
You hear that? This is what people don't understand. The Lord seen Saul in his wickedness and knew that he was chosen to do what the Lord wanted him to do. That's how the Lord seen you when you was in the world.
Right.
As you was wicked and you was out here doing all the wicked things on this earth, the Lord looked at you and like, that's my boy. Go get him out the world.
Right.
You went through that, all that stuff you went through, getting chased down, getting shot at, running from this and that, child support court and all that. You went through all of that because the Lord wanted you. That's why you went through it. Just like Saul. Saul had to be blind for him to get healed. And then after he got healed, he woke up, he got up out of that. He was zealous for the Most High. Right. That's what the Lord wants from you. The Lord sends you through stuff, but after you go through it, you're going to either run toward him or run from him. That's where you at right now. You at the point to where, what are you going to do? Are you going to be hot or are you going to be cold? Are you going to be lukewarm? You know what I'm saying? You either going to be hot and be with the Most High, or you going to be cold and not be with the Most High, because you're not going to be straddling the fence. The Lord don't want that. What you got?
I was just going to say, like, to be with the Lord, you got to go through the furnace of affliction. That was the next verse. You know what I'm saying? He said, verse 16, for I will show him how great things he must suffer for my name's sake.
That's what people think. People think that you come to the Lord and you're supposed to have prosperity and all the happiness and the love and the peace in the world. You come into the truth to suffer. That's what you come here to do. You are coming here to get persecuted. For whose name, though? For Christ's sake. For Christ's name's sake. That's what we're here to do. Now, let me read verse 21, verse 20.
And the straightway he preached Christ in the synagogue, and he is the Son of God. But all that heard him were amazed and said, is not this he that destroyed them which called on the name in Jerusalem?
Right.
And came hither for that intent, that he might bring them bound unto the chief priests? Yeah. But Saul increased the more in his strength, and confounded the Jews which dwelt at Damascus, proving that this is very Christ.
This is what we doing. We get persecuted. You know what I'm saying? We was Christians. Right. We was Egyptologists. Right. We was Muslims. And they was looking at us doing all this other stuff. And then the next day we out here talking about the white man is the devil and God don't love everybody. And if you ain't black, Hispanic, and Native American, then you going to be a goddamn slave. Right. They like, wasn't he just saying God loved everybody? Right. Wasn't he just saying that Jesus was going to be a fence all around everybody? Right. Now you out here saying something totally different. That's the same way that if you ain't getting this type of reaction, then you ain't in the truth. Right. You got to look the total opposite than you looked the day before. Right. You understand? That is this walk. This walk ain't coming in here and being in line with the world to where you can just walk in the crowd and fit in. No, you are the lady in the red dress. That's right. You are sticking out like a sore thumb. You know what I'm saying?
Kind of one kind. Your family, your friends got to tell you, I don't even know you anymore.
That's when you know you made it. That's when you know that you on the right track right there. When everybody like, you just so different. You not the same. I don't even know you no more. I sure appreciate it. I've been working hard to not be the same. I don't want to be the same. That defeats the purpose. Right. Now, let me get Acts 11, chapter 1. I'm still like it. Acts chapter 11, verse 1. Read 1 through 5.
It's the book of Acts, chapter 11, verse 1.
So now this is after Peter went and brought Cornelius into the truth. Right? This is after that. Now look what was happening. Read that.
It's the book of Acts, chapter 11, verse 1. And the apostles and brethren that were in Judea heard that the Gentiles had also received the word of God. Verse 2. And when Peter was come up to Jerusalem, they that were the circumcision contended with him.
What? They did what?
They that were of the circumcision contended with him.
The Jews was like, what they say? Read it.
Verse 3, saying, thou wentest into men uncircumcised and didst eat with them.
The Jews was like, wait a minute, I heard you was over there with them Gentiles eating. You was over there, what you was doing? You understand? Keep reading.
But Peter rehearsed the matter from the beginning.
He did what?
Rehearsed.
He started explaining. Like, wait, hold on, y'all. Wait, I ain't tripping. You know what I'm saying? Let me tell you what happened. So then he ran down the whole vision. The reason Peter did not want to go to the Gentiles is because he didn't want to stain his reputation amongst the Jews. Right. Peter had a good reputation amongst the Jews, and he didn't want to stain that. So today, if that was 2019, that would be like you starting the camp full of homosexuals. Right. You going to all the gay clubs, waking up all the gay brothers and sisters. And they like, oh, that's that boy Tyson now. He got the gay camp. Right. That is what he like. I know the Gentiles can be saved, but I'm not finna go and say, I'm not finna go teach them. That's what the problem was. Paul was zealous. Paul was like, man, these my brothers and my sisters, my brethren, my kinsmen, according to the flesh, who are Israelites. So I'm finna go and get them. Peter was like, hey, my brothers and sisters too, but shalom. Go ahead and handle that. You want to go out there and teach them? Then teach them. But I can't be seen in the gay bar in there talking about, brother, you an Israelite. You understand? You God's chosen people. No, that is what it was. So this is what people miss. Peter was the disciple that was an apostle that was in Jerusalem. Paul was an evangelist. He traveled. Peter didn't travel. So everything that we read about Paul is because he was moving around. And he started so many different schools in so many different lands, he couldn't send them a text message. He couldn't call them. So what did he do? He wrote them letters. He wrote letters to the Romans, to the Corinthians, to the church of Ephesus, to the church of Galatia, the Thessalonica. He wrote all of these different churches because he was not in that land. So when you think that Peter was going out to teach everybody, that's just because you don't understand that he was only teaching. Drop down to verse 18 and 11, Acts 11. Read verse 18 and 19.
This is the book of Acts, chapter 11, verse 18. When they heard these things, they held their peace and glorified God, saying.
So they heard everything that he was saying about how it happened, the vision he had, and how the angel came to him, and all of that. They held their peace and they listened. They was like, "Well, Most High in Christ." What they say?
And held their peace, saying, and glorified God, saying, then have God also to the Gentiles granted repentance unto life.
That's it right there. Unto the Gentiles granted repentance unto life. Keep reading though.
Verse 19. Now they which were scattered abroad.
Now it's making it more clear. Now those that were scattered abroad
upon the persecution that rose about Stephen traveled as far as Phoenix, and Syria, Cyprus, and Antioch.
That's Greek. Read.
Preaching the word to none but unto the Jews only.
Teaching to who?
None but unto the Jews only.
That's what that was. He was only teaching to the Jews. So if you want to know who he was going out to, he was going out to the Gentiles. But he was preaching to who?
None but unto the Jews only.
That's what he was doing. He was out there saying, "What's your nationality?"
Right.
Brother, you a part of the nation of Israel. You my brother. Right. What's you? Oh, you an Edomite? Oh, this ain't for you. I ain't talking to you. What's your nationality? He was teaching unto the Jews only. You understand? Give me Acts 13. Give me 13 and 23.
It's the book of Acts, chapter 13, verse 23. Of this man's seed hath God, according to his promise, raised unto Israel.
Raised unto who?
Raised unto Israel.
Raised unto the planet Earth.
Raised unto Israel. A Savior, YAHANNA. Verse 24. Then John had first preached before his coming the baptism of repentance to all.
To all of who?
To all the people of Israel.
No, to the earth.
To all the people of Israel.
When they said that Christ died for all, he died for what?
All the people of Israel.
That's what Christians don't understand because they don't read the Bible. Christ died for all the people of Israel. Peter taught to all the people of Israel. Paul taught to all the people of Israel that were not in Israel. The Israelites that were scattered abroad. Read verse 26.
It's the book of Acts, chapter 13, verse 26. Men and brethren, children of the stock of Abraham.
Oh, the what?
The stock of Abraham. And whosoever among you feareth God.
Whosoever among everybody.
Whosoever among you feareth God.
Read.
To you is the word of this salvation sent.
To who?
To you is the word of this salvation sent.
That's who salvation is for. Salvation is for the Jews.
Right.
What you got out?
I mean, just playing devil's advocate, like how Christians would play. Like, well, Ishmaelites are from Abraham.
They show love.
So you got Esau. They from Abraham. So they should get salvation.
No problem. Give me Romans 9 and 7. Give me Romans 9 and 7.
Book of Romans, chapter 9, verse 7, and it reads, neither because they are the seed of Abraham.
That's right.
Are they all children?
Just because you come from Abraham, that don't mean you are a child of the Most High. Because what?
But in Isaac shall thy seed be called.
Ishmael didn't come from Isaac.
Right.
No, the seed was in Isaac. Read.
Verse 8, that is, they which are the children of the flesh, these are not the children of God.
Do you know what Hagar was called? She was the bondwoman, the woman of the flesh. That's what it was called. But read.
But the children of the promise.
The children of the what?
The promise.
The Most High made the promise with Abraham that Sarah was going to get pregnant and have a child. And that seed was going to be the seed that was promised to get the inheritance. Read.
But the children of the promise are counted for the seed.
That's who the seed is for. The children of the promise. Oh, it goes more into detail. Read the next verse.
Verse 9. For this is the word of promise. At this time I will come, and Sarah shall have a son.
This is the word of promise. And now we're going to get into just straight to the nitty gritty. I'm going to come, and Sarah's going to have a son. Read.
Verse 10. And not only this, but when Rebekah also had conceived by one, even by our father Isaac.
Now it's making it clear. So now you got Abraham, and now the promise going to Isaac. Read.
Verse 11. For the children being not yet born.
It ain't had nothing to do with how good or bad it was.
Neither having done any good or evil.
No good or evil. But for what?
That the purpose of God, according to the election.
No, according to Jesus died.
According to the election.
Read.
Might stand.
That's all it was about. The Lord chose who he wanted to choose. Read.
Not of works.
Not of what?
Not of works.
Read.
But of him that calleth.
That's it. The Lord just chose you. Hold on, give me that. Keep reading though. Just give me that part.
Verse 12.
So we got Abraham, we got Isaac. Read.
Verse 12. It was said unto her, the elder shall serve the younger.
Are we getting somewhere else to another group of people? Read.
Verse 13. As it is written, Jacob have I loved.
We got Abraham, we got Isaac, and we got who?
Jacob have I loved.
We got Jacob, but
Esau have I hated.
Well, damn, I mean, he don't love everybody.
Right.
So dang, if God is a just God, then why don't he love everybody? Why don't he love Esau? Read.
Verse 14. What shall we say then? Is there unrighteousness with God?
Is God unrighteous because he does not love everybody?
God forbid.
Hell no. Right. Read.
Verse 15. For he saith to Moses, I will have mercy on whom I will have mercy, and I will have compassion on whom I will have compassion.
The Lord said, I can do what the hell I want to do.
Right.
I'm the creator. That's what it is. That's what this is. Now, the Pharisees and the Sadducees was like, it's all about the circumcision. Right. You gotta be circumcised. That is the law that they was trying to uphold, that when Christ came and done away with. It's not about the circumcision of the flesh. It's about the circumcision of your heart, your mind, your attitude, what you're doing. So they was trying to uphold the law of Moses, meaning stoning people, meaning circumcising your flesh, and those things. So that's why Christians say the law is done away with, because they don't understand it's talking about the punishment of the law. Right. They think it's talking about the commandments. Right. And that's ignorance. Give me chapter 15, Acts. Acts 15, you're going to start at 1. Read 1 through 3. And we're going to drop down. Go ahead, Al, you got a question?
So when Christians say the law is done away with, so in their head they're thinking about how I'm trying to word it correctly. So there's no law and there's no punishment, right?
Right.
So they figure because we're not being punished for the law, but we're actually being punished for the law.
Right.
But we're just not being punished by men. We're being punished by the Lord.
Exactly. See, when they say the law is done away with, they think that means no more thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not steal, thou shalt not commit adultery. But they don't really think that either. Right. It's crazy because if you ask them, so you saying that I can steal? No, you can't steal. Okay. But I can't, the law done away with. Yeah, the law done away with. So I can sleep with your wife. No, I can't. You can't sleep with my wife. But the law done away with. Yeah, it's done away with. That they don't even understand what they saying. So that's why we gotta explain what it really means. The punishment of the laws was done away with. We are not fit to judge them because we all sin. All of Israel have sinned. That's why Christ said when they brought to him that woman that was committing adultery, they was trying to catch him up right there. They were trying to cut him. And he was like, well, he without sin cast the first stone. Right. Letting us know we're not fit to judge anyone. Right. Because we all deserve punishment. Go ahead. Right. He nailed the punishment to the cross. That punishment was the last punishment should have been given out. Right. He became a sacrifice for us. He that knew no sin became sin for us. Right. So that's what he's saying. He took on the punishment for everybody else, being that he never did anything worth that punishment. Go ahead.
Just like every sin sacrifice, you sacrifice a lamb, the scapegoat, and the Feast of Atonement, and then you let one go. All that is what YAHANNA represented. Right.
Christ was the representation of the sacrifice and our sin. Right. About what Christ coming? Yes. I mean, he that knew no sin. Yeah, it's a lot of them. It's a lot of Isaiah 7. I think when it talks about he came out of a dry root. And I mean, we talk about the prophecies of Christ in the Old Testament. Yeah, it's a bunch of them. I could do a lesson on that next week. Yeah. Right. So let's go to let's go. Let me get Acts 14:19 before we go to Acts 15. Read that. Let me show you what was happening to the people that followed Christ. Read. So Stephen already got killed. Read this.
This is the book of Acts, chapter 14, verse 19. And there came thither certain Jews from Antioch and from Iconium who persuaded the people, and having stoned Paul.
Having what?
Stoned Paul, drew him out of the city, supposing he had been dead.
They stoned Paul because of what he was doing. And Paul still wasn't dead. That's the life of a prophet. You are going to go through persecution. They went through persecution. Right. And there's nothing new under the sun. Right. That is why this life that we live in is so important to have men that are not cowards. Right. You understand? Right. Because it's going to get real. Right. It's real. I mean, our persecution and the stuff that we go through is minor compared to what they went through. Not having your mama talk to you, having your family look at you funny, compared to being stoned, thrown in and out of jail, and the general's been in and out of jail. Right. I mean, we've all went through. I mean, everybody got their different form of persecution that they went through since they came into the truth. Go ahead,
And like Slack is, sir, like people, they just read stoning. You know what I'm saying? It's like, oh, they stoning. Like, that's not a light thing.
Right. Not at all.
Like imagine like when you was a kid playing wall ball.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And you slaying that ball, and if you don't touch the wall in time, you know what I'm saying? They peg you. You understand? And just imagine everybody that played wall ball, they got that slang hand, all of them out there at a crushed concrete pit on a construction site, every little piece, they slanging them shards at your head. You know what I'm saying? They not going for your body. They going for your head. You understand? And that dude survived. The Lord definitely was with him.
Right, they throwing rocks at you, not tennis balls.
Olympic
That's
right.
Yeah, big rocks.
Yeah.
And they probably ain't got no line out there that's saying stand behind this line.
No.
They probably right on his back.
Yeah.
You understand? Hitting him in the head with stones. That's why it's called stoning him. Understand? That's real persecution. Let me get Acts 15:1 now.
This is the book of Acts, chapter 15, verse 1. And certain men which came down from Judea taught the brethren and said, except ye be circumcised after the manner of Moses, ye cannot be saved.
This is what the Pharisees and the Sadducees thought. This is the law that they were still trying to uphold. They were still trying to say that I don't care what these new fellas out here saying. The only way you could be saved is if you circumcised. Just like the Christians. The Christians just saying, I don't care what they talking about. You ain't gotta do no works. All you gotta do is believe. It's the same thing. Read verse 3.
Verse 3. And being brought on their way by the church, they passed through Phoenicia and Samaria, declaring the conversion of the Gentiles, and they caused great joy unto all the brethren.
Read verse 7.
Verse 7. And when there had been much disputing, Peter rose up.
Now, people always talk about, I don't talk about the Bible. I don't like to argue over the Bible. Read that again.
And when there had been much disputing, Peter rose up.
Read.
And said unto them, men and brethren, ye know how that a good while ago God made a choice among us, that the Gentiles by mouth should hear the word of the gospel and believe.
Read.
Verse 8, and God, which knoweth the hearts, bear them witness, giving them the Holy Spirit, even as he said unto us.
But read it, next verse, verse 9.
Verse 9, and put no difference between us and them.
Put no difference between who?
Between us and them. Purifying their hearts by faith.
Now read verse 14.
Verse 14, Simeon hath declared how God at first did visit the Gentiles to take out of them a people for his name.
Oh, this is it right here. This is the Christian cut right here. They cut us. They took out a people for his. He went to the Gentiles to take out a people for his name. Read what you got. Keep reading.
Verse 15, and to this agree the words of the prophets, as it is written.
The prophets ain't never talk about nobody but Israel being saved. A Christian will tell you, now we know in the Old Testament it was about the Israelites, but in the New Testament it's for all men to be saved. Well, now he finna go to the Old Testament and tell you what that really means. Read.
And to this agree the words of the prophets, as it is written. After this, I will return.
I will return and do what?
And will build again the tabernacle of David.
And build again the what?
The tabernacle of David.
Read.
Which is fallen down. And I will build again the ruins thereof, and I will set it up.
And I will do what?
Set it up.
What is that talking about? Go ahead. And doing what? Coming back together. That's what it was all about. That was the purpose for Christ. Go ahead.
Because Christ did say
that he would tear down the temple and build it back up in 3 days.
That's exactly what he said. Now, anybody got any questions? Go ahead. Go ahead. Read it.
This is the book of Amos.
Don't worry about it. 9 and 11. What you got, Awanyala?
I'm going to just a quick Matthew 18 and 11.
Read it.
Matthew chapter 18, verse 11. For the Son of Man is come to save that which was lost.
That's it. Christ came to save those that were lost, the lost sheep of the house of Israel. That's who we come. Go ahead, I read what you got in Amos.
Oh, okay. Can I start at chapter 9?
Go ahead.
The book of Amos, chapter 11, verse 9. For lo, I will command and will sift the house of Israel among all nations. Salakia, 9 and 9. Amos 9 and 9. For lo, I will command and will sift the house of Israel among all nations, like as corn is sifted in a sieve. Yet shall not the least grain fall upon the earth. Verse 10. All the sinners of my people shall die by the sword, which say, the evil shall not overtake nor prevent us. Verse 11. In that day will I raise up the tabernacle of David that is fallen, and close up the breaches thereof, and I will raise up his ruin, and I will build it as in the days of the old.
That's it right there. Rebuild it as the days of old. Yeah, Amos 9 through 12. Amos 9. Read the next verse. Read where you at. Tell me where you at.
This is the book of Amos, chapter 9, verse 12.
Okay, read. Read 3:12.
That they may possess the remnant of Edom.
They may do what?
Possess the remnant of Edom.
See that? That's been the promise since the Old Testament. Now, when has it happened? Since the Jews are in the land right now and they the real Jews, then why isn't the real Jews possessing Edom?
Right.
They the Edomites, so how they gonna possess the Edomites? You understand? Makes no sense.
Right.
Because they don't understand what they saying. Now let me get Acts 18 and 4. And now I want y'all, I need 2 Maccabees 6 and 6. Go ahead. Acts 18 and 4. Give me
This the book of
Acts chapter 18, verse 4. And he reasoned in the synagogue every Sabbath and persuaded the Jews and the Greeks.
The Jews and the what?
And the Greeks.
I thought Jesus died for everybody. The Jews and the what?
And the Greeks.
So that means Christ only died for the Jews and the Greeks.
Right.
What happened to everybody?
right.
People always say Christ died for everybody, but every time I read the Bible, it's always talking about the Jews and the Greeks.
Right.
Why is that? We're gonna find out. Give me Greece first. While he's finding that, go to chapter 19, verse 3. All right, just hold that. Read what you got, Greece.
All right. This is the definition of Greece from the Zondervan Bible Dictionary. Grecia, Grecians. Grecia is Greece, the home of the Hellenes. Greeks and Grecians, however, are to be distinguished. Greeks are generally those of an Hellenic race, but the word may be used to indicate non-Jews, foreigners, and aliens. Grecians were Greek-speaking Jews.
They were what?
Grecians were Greek-speaking Jews, folk of the diaspora. Of the dispersion.
Folk of the what?
Dispersion.
Folk of the dispersion, meaning the people that were scattered. They were Greek-speaking Jews. Like you are an American. You are an American-speaking Jew.
Right.
It's the same thing.
Right.
So you would be called a Hellenist. That's what it was. It was someone that went in and spoke and followed the customs of the other people.
Right.
Now, Hellenist. Let's see what the Hellenist race is. Read.
This is Hellenist in the Zondervan Compact Bible Dictionary. Jews who make Greek their tongue.
Everybody who made Greek their tongue.
Jews who make Greek their tongue and with it often adopted Greek ideas and practices.
So when the Bible keeps talking about saving the Jews and the Greeks, who was he talking about? The Jews. Because they taught to none but the Jews. The Bible is about the nation of Israel.
That's right.
From Genesis to Revelation. Now, give me what you got in Second Maccabees.
Oh, you didn't want 18?
Read what you got.
Second Maccabees, this is the Apocrypha. Second Maccabees, chapter 6, verse 6, and it reads, neither was it lawful for a man to keep Sabbath days.
This is the Greeks right here. This is when they started telling us we couldn't be Jews. They made it unlawful for a man to keep Sabbath day. Read.
Or ancient fasts, or to profess himself at all to be a Jew.
Or if profess yourself at all to be a Jew. Keep reading.
Verse 7, and in the day of the king's birth, every month, they were brought by bitter constraints to eat of the sacrifices.
By bitter constraints. So this is the test. All right, this is the king's birthday month. So this is what I need. Are you a Jew or a Greek? I'm a Greek. All right, eat this pork.
All right.
All right, you a Greek. Next, you a Jew or a Greek? I'm a Jew. Kill him.
Right.
That's what it was. Keep reading.
And when the fast of Bacchus was kept, the Jews were compelled to go in procession to Bacchus carrying ivy.
You see that? They made them go in like they were Greeks worshiping the feast day of Bacchus. Bacchus is still around today. If you go to any Mardi Gras parade, they have a parade called the Bacchus Parade. That's Greek. That's why you see the Mardi Gras parades, all of that stuff is written in Greek.
Right.
It's still around today. Keep reading.
Verse 8, moreover, there went out a decree to the neighbor cities of the heathen by the suggestion of Ptolemy against the Jews, that they should observe the same fashions and be partakers of their sacrifices.
That was like, look, they over there talking about they gonna keep the Passover and the Day of Atonement and all that, the Feast of Trumpets and the Feast of Unleavened Bread. Man, look, they better be keeping this Christmas.
Right.
Better be keeping this Thanksgiving and this Valentine's Day.
Right.
That's what they better be doing. Keep reading.
Verse 9, and whoso would not conform themselves to the manner of the Gentiles.
Here we go right here. Now, if you didn't listen to the manner of the Gentiles, read.
Should be put to death.
Should be what?
Put to death.
Now they're going to tell you an instance when someone was put to death. Read.
Then might a man have seen the present misery.
Read.
Verse 10, and there were two women brought who had circumcised their children.
Now you got these two women that's like, look, I don't give a damn what these white people say.
Right.
I don't follow my laws.
Right.
They walking around read.
Whom when they had openly led round about the city, the babies handing at their breasts.
Yeah, they got the babies hanging off their breasts, breastfeeding with their rods out in the city.
Right.
Read.
They cast them down headlong from the wall.
White man grabbed them babies and threw them over the walls head first.
Right.
Showing you better not follow your feast, your customs. Right. You better not say that you a Jew, because now you a Greek. So now they were going to the Jews and the Greeks. The Greeks that they were going to were what? Greek-speaking Jews. Right. So that's why you keep seeing Jew nor Greek, Jew and Greek, Jew and Greek. You understand? Now, read verse 11.
Second Maccabees, chapter 6, verse 11. And others that had run together in caves nearby to keep the Sabbath day secretly, being discovered by Philip, were all burnt together.
Were all what?
Were all burnt together.
Read.
Because they made a conscience to help themselves for the honor of the most sacred day.
You see that? They don't want us to have honor. They don't want us to have integrity. They want us to sell out.
Right.
They want us to be coons.
Right.
And that's what they got now. They got a nation full of coons.
Right.
But not in the I.S.U.P.K.
That's right.
Because we are no cowards.
That's right.
You understand? That's why it's important not to be afraid to stand up for the Most High in Christ.
That's right.
You understand? Hold on. Let me get to first. Let me get to Acts 21 and 20.
This is the book of Acts, chapter 21, verse 20. And when they heard it, they glorified the Lord and said unto him, Thou seest, brother, how many thousands of Jews there are which believe, and they are all zealous of the law.
They went and found the brothers and sisters, and they came into the truth, and they were ready to work.
Right.
That's what zealous mean. They had the zeal. They was talking about getting at it.
Right.
Read.
Verse 21. And they are informed of thee that thou teachest all the Jews which are among the Gentiles.
They teach you?
All the Jews which are among the Gentiles to forsake Moses, saying that they ought not to circumcise their children, neither walk after the custom.
Do you hear that? That's what they were teaching. All the Jews which were among the Gentiles to forsake. You don't got to go and get your kids circumcised anymore, because that's not what's going to make your child righteous. You don't have to go and do the things that we had to do. You don't have to get stoned anymore. You don't have to do that no more, because Christ died. All you got to do is live righteously, follow the laws. You understand? Change your life. Raise your children up not being Greeks. Raise your children up following the laws, statutes, and commandments. That is how you show the Lord that you love him. You show him through your actions, not through what you do, not through customs. Not just because you had the Passover, that don't make you righteous. Because you eating pork, but you're going to the Passover.
Right.
It don't make you righteous.
Right.
Scripture says obedience is better than sacrifice. The Lord requires your obedience over your killing of the lamb. That's what he wants. He wants you to present yourself as a sacrifice. You understand? To give your old self over and become something better and new. Give me 1 Corinthians 12 and 1.
It's the book of 1 Corinthians, chapter 12, verse 1. Now concerning spiritual gifts, brethren, I would not have you ignorant. Verse 2. Ye know what ye were Gentiles, carried away unto these dumb idols.
You were Gentiles. You used to be Gentiles, carried away into these dumb idols. Read.
Even as ye were led.
As you were led. You went wherever they told you to go, and you carried the idols and worshiped the idols that was in the land wherever you were led. It's saying the same thing all the way through the Bible. Give me Ephesians 2 and 11.
It's the book of Ephesians, chapter 2, verse 11. Wherefore remember that ye being in time past,
what?
Gentiles in the flesh.
Read.
Who were called uncircumcision by that which is called the circumcision in the flesh made by hands.
You used to be called uncircumcision by those who were called circumcision. The Jews used to call you Greeks. That's what he said. Keep reading.
Verse 12. That at the time ye were without Christ, being aliens of the commonwealth of Israel.
This is what Peter and Paul and the disciples and the apostles and the evangelists of Christ was teaching to Israel.
Right.
You used to be aliens, not a part of the commonwealth of Israel. Keep reading.
And strangers of the covenants of promise, having no hope and without God in the world.
That's who you used to be. You used to have no hope until Christ came and died for you. You understand? Give me John 7 to 35.
This is the book of John, chapter 7, verse 35. Then said the Jews amongst themselves, whither will he go? that he shall not be that we shall not find him. Will he go unto the dispersed among the Gentiles?
The who?
The dispersed among the Gentiles and teach the Gentiles.
See that? All through this, when you hear about the Gentiles that are going to be saved, who are they talking about? The ones that were dispersed, that were scattered. That is the words that Christians read over. That's the most important part of the context of the scriptures. Give me 1 Peter 1:1, James 1:1, and we're going to get out of here. 1 Peter 1:1.
This is First Peter, chapter 1, verse 1. Peter, an apostle of Yahushua Mashiach, to the strangers scattered abroad, scattered throughout Pontus, Galatia, Cappadocia.
Wait a minute. To the who?
Strangers scattered throughout Pontus.
To the strangers in Pontus. Read.
Galatia, Cappadocia, Asia, and Bithynia. Verse 2. Elect according to the foreknowledge of God the Father.
That's who the letters was to right there. We are in the book of what? 1 Peter?
1 Peter chapter 1, verse 1 and 2.
Way in 1 Peter, the letters in the Bible is only to the who?
Strangers scattered throughout Pontus, Galatia, Cappadocia, Asia, and Bithynia.
That's it. That's who the Bible is talking to. The letters of the apostles were to the strangers scattered abroad, the Israelites, of the elect. You understand? The elect of Israel are the 12 tribes.
Right.
You got some more? Go ahead.
Verse 2. Elect according to the foreknowledge of God the Father, through sanctification of the Spirit, unto obedience and sprinkling of the blood of Yahushua Mashiach. Grace unto you and peace be multiplied.
Why does it say the sprinkling of the blood? Does that mean you got to get blood sprinkled on you? That's what Christians going to say. See, that's why the Catholics, we sprinkle the water on you in the blood. That's what that is. That's why I say the sprinkling. His blood is atonement for our sin, but why does it say sprinkle?
Like it because the priest of old would slaughter a lamb and then would sprinkle the blood with the leaf over the people.
Right. And it's because how was they teaching the gospel? They was dropping it over here and over there, dropping the blood out everywhere. It's teaching, sprinkling it everywhere, dropping seeds. You understand? People don't understand that. Give me James 1:1.
The book of James, chapter 1.
Verse 1. James, a servant of God and the Lord Yahushua HaMashiach.
Now we in James. Read.
To the 12 tribes.
To the who?
To the 12 tribes.
To everybody.
To the 12 tribes. Which are scattered abroad. Greeting. Verse 2.
That's it right there. I don't need nothing else. This is only to the 12 tribes who are scattered abroad. Greeting. So now let's go to Revelations 22 and 14. This is the last book of the Bible in the last chapter of the Bible. You say that the laws are done away with. Let's see what the Bible says.
This is the book of Revelation, chapter 22, verse 14. Blessed are they that do his commandment.
That do what?
Do his commandment.
Read.
That they might have right to the tree of life.
Read.
And may enter in through the gates into the city.
Keep reading.
Verse 15. For without our dogs.
For without keeping the commandments, you are a dog. Read.
And sorcerers.
And sorcerers. Witchcraft. Read.
And whoremongers.
And whoremongers. Read.
And murderers.
And murderers.
And idolaters. And whomsoever loveth and maketh a lie.
You see that? That's what you are when you don't keep the commandments. The disciples taught to the 12 tribes of Israel. The 12 tribes of Israel are the only people that's going to get salvation. Peter and Paul didn't have any debates. They wasn't mad at each other. It wasn't no separation between them two because they both taught the same people.
Right.
Peter was just like, I don't want to be seen in the gay bar. I don't want to be seen talking to dirty, nasty people. But you can. I'll catch them, you know, by myself, but I don't want to be with them as a whole. Paul was like, I'm going to get them. That's the problem that you don't understand. That is blacks, Hispanics, Native Americans today. Because Salakia, I would kind of be with Peter. I just don't want to be seen in what's the gay club name?
Skittles.
Something like whatever. Some shit like that. Yeah. I don't want to be caught in the Skittles. Y'all seen Yachty in there in Skittles? No.
Big yo.
No, sir. Not me. So I understand what Peter was going on. Peter just had that zeal. You know what I'm saying? Go ahead.
If I may, Peter spoke to the circumcised Jews to get them to accept Yahushua as the sacrifice that will bring us back together as a nation of people.
Right.
Paul spoke to those Israelites who forsook their customs according to their forefathers.
And with that, we're going to pass the class over to Trooper Uriah. Get him right here.
We are the I.S.U.P.K, started out at 1 West 125th Street, Harlem, New York. Rule for new brothers and sisters. When a new brother or sister comes into the school, they are off limits for 6 months. They are to be saluted only. They are here to shed themselves of the world. If they need transportation, the teacher will arrange it. After 6 months, a brother or a sister, if they have an interest in a particular person, he or she must get permission from the head to speak to the brother or sister. There is another 6 months in which the brother and sister will court each other. After the 6 month period, the brother and sister will get permission from the head to marry. Tithes, which is a commandment. Numbers chapter 18, verse 21. Malachi chapter 3, verse 8 through 10. Mayashra means tenth in the Hebrew. A tenth of every penny of any increase the Lord gives to you, give to the treasury department or teacher. The priest fund is a free will offering for priests. It is not mandatory. Whatsoever amount you would like. The holy convocations coming up would be the Feast of Purim, which would be March 18th.
February.
Tomorrow. Monday, February 18th through the 19th. Tuesday and Monday. Well, Monday and Tuesday. The book of Esther, chapter 9, verse 20 through 21. Through 31. If anyone wants to be a trooper in the school, start wearing all black, boots, shirts, pants, headband, and scarf. These are the security announcements.
With that, Amajim.
Sorry. You're going to turn to the east, face the east. Do the Lord's Prayer.
Abanawa. Shabbat Shemayim. Wadah. Ayah. Shemka. Yahweh. Malakutah.